All right, so as you guys know, I swapped out my stall mats in my gym for actual gym flooring tile, and there are 3 things that I learned that really surprised me. So let's go over them in today's video. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is the price, and that was the biggest deterrent from me going with more commercial grade flooring initially, because pricing things out, commercial grade just seemed more expensive, or maybe it was just in my mind. These days, commercial grade flooring is much more readily available and is very affordable. And on the flip side, stall mats have gone up in cost dramatically. As of right now, when I check my Tractor Supply store, they are $57 for the mats that I had here in my basement. At the time of purchase, looking back at older videos, they were around $36. So quite the bit of inflation there. Now it is true you can get them on sale and for special and discounting and whatnot. But the interesting thing to me was to buy this flooring that I have now through Freedom Fitness Supply cost me $1,920-ish before shipping or tax, which is going to cover about 768 square feet of gym floor. Now, 768 is a little bit of a weird number, and that's because I have roughly 700 square feet of gym here. They suggest 10% overages, so the cost to me was $1,920, which again seems expensive, but taking a look at what that would cost today to replace with stall mats, let's just say I was starting from fresh, I would need 32 stall mats at roughly $57 each, which would cost me $1,820-ish. So there's only a $100 price difference between the two options. And I think most people would agree that the actual gym tiles that I went with look much cleaner and much more professional. Now, this wasn't always the case because reviewing older videos that I did for my first gym builds, I was getting my stall mats for around $36 to $37. And again, as I mentioned, you can catch them on sale and whatnot. But the main point I want to emphasize here, which was super surprising, was if you're starting fresh and looking to do things from the beginning, going the commercial route not only is just as affordable, but in some cases it might be more desirable because of some of the other points we'll talk about in this video. So another thing I found out was the installation was a lot easier than I had thought. Now, truth be told, moving the equipment regardless of what floor you have and replacing it with new flooring is not going to be fun just for the sake of moving the equipment. But that's going to be a pain in the butt no matter if you're doing stall mats, rolled flooring, or tile flooring like I went with. But I was also concerned with just the installation of the floor itself. Again, initially looking at commercial grade flooring, I assumed I had to get a big roll, a long roll of rubber down my basement stairs into the basement by myself, which I tend to do things solo, roll it out and cut these long strips in order to match up. Not to mention glue or adhere it to the ground potentially, line up seams. It just didn't seem like a fun process. And at the time, moving 4x6 mats just seemed like an easier way to get stuff done. And again, a more affordable one at the time. Now that price is kind of taken off the table, taking a look at getting commercial grade flooring in, I also started to look at tiles, which initially was not on my radar because I associate some of the tiles with some of the cheap foam tiles you might see from Walmart, ones that tend to rip and tear or compress. But instead, what I went with was 3/8-inch tile, which was light enough to move around really easily, thin enough to cut really easily, but thick enough to be very durable for gym flooring. So stall mats are great, 3/4 inch thick, really sturdy, but for the most part, you're not going to be dropping your weights all over your gym and probably only in concentrated areas, which means you don't need all that thickness everywhere. And that thickness not only adds to the actual pain in the butt of bringing something in, but potential the cost and or moving of those things down the road. And especially cutting stall mats can be a not very fun experience. So with the tiles, my other concern was the fact that there are so many seams with the kind of puzzle pieces that are going to be present that I would see those often. And again, I'm coming from the stall mat world of having taped all my seams for a very grid-like look, which initially looks good and over time for me held up really well. In fact, better than others that I've seen. But I can't really compare the two looks now that I have the new flooring down, how much cleaner and uniform the floor looks compared to the stall mat. I also do like the flex in this particular flooring because it makes it look a lot cleaner because it's able to hide little bits of debris and that kind of puts off how long I have to clean the floors with, which I am extremely cool on. So a big surprise to me was getting the tiles in, nice and easy, 2x2, really light, easy to cut, yet super durable still for a clean, fashionable gym look. All right, so the last thing that surprised me, and I think is going to surprise a lot of people as well, is the smell of the floor. Because based off of the comments or things that I see on Facebook groups and Instagram, a lot of people don't like stall mats because of the odor, and they think like switching to commercial grade flooring is going to eliminate that. Well, I'm here to tell you it definitely helps some, but the odor is still there, meaning that stall mats smell like rubber because they're made of rubber. Well, spoiler alert, guess what gym flooring tiles are made of? Guess what rolled flooring is made from? Rubber. So you're still going to get that scent, but I do find that it's not as strong. It could be in the process of which they're made, especially recycled rubber in most cases, as these are, as are most stall mats, but also just the thickness and the amount of rubber in your gym. Regardless of the fact, it still smells like rubber in my basement, although I do think it is a bit subdued. So if you're making the switch simply because you think it's going to not smell, I have news for you. You are in the wrong, my friend. Now, I have done some research on this, and from what I can find, I haven't found anything directly linking serious health effects to the off-gassing or the VOCs. Although it is not extremely pleasant, you should put this in hopefully a well-ventilated area, which even in a basement gym, we do get ventilation down here. So it's nothing overpowering, and I don't believe there will be any long-term health effects, but I do like the fact that they are a little bit less odorful. It's not a word. I'm going to use it for this video. They have less odor than what was previously here. And I have the other benefits, as I mentioned, of being more manageable, more uniform, looking better, and a little bit more professional as well. So those are the 3 things that surprised me about switching my stall mats out to commercial grade tile flooring. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.